Welcome to the Beautiful View podcast, where we encourage you to look for opportunities in your life to see a beautiful view. I'm Candy.
And I'm Paul. Today we're going to be talking about gathering places in our communities and why they're so important.
Yes, and we have a special guest joining us today to talk about a couple of the places that we love to gather.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the beautiful view.
We could climb a mighty mountain, float on down a winding river, travel back in time and face our future too. Oh, I'm not scared of where I'm going, 'cause I know whose hands I'm holding. Oh, I'd go anywhere as long as you're going to. Well, I'd go anywhere as long as I'm with you.
Have you ever stopped to consider the importance of community gathering places? These places are where people naturally congregate. They foster social interactions and a sense of belonging, and they can include a variety of different spaces.
Most of these places are where people meet regularly, socialize, and engage in activities.
Yeah.
They often have few barriers to entry and a welcoming atmosphere.
The community that we live in is small, but it is packed with places like this. That was a big draw to us putting roots down here in Bellevue, Iowa. Community gathering places facilitate social interaction, and they help build relationships. They also provide a sense of belonging. Who doesn't want to belong somewhere? When we were new to this community, we found our people by going to local gathering places.
Yeah, and these are places such as libraries, community centers, churches, and other facilities that provide access to resources and programs that benefit the community.
Yeah. And there's one place in particular that we have been involved in since even before we moved here.
Yeah, that's the food share at the Presbyterian Church here in town.
Yeah.
And that was something that you found on Facebook when we were here, just sort of like staying for a season.
Yeah.
And you were like, what can we get the kids involved in? Like, what is there something here in town that we can do?
Yeah.
And you discovered the Bellevue Community Cupboard Project on Facebook.
I did, and I messaged them, and I'm like, is this something that families can participate in? Is it something that kids can help with?
Yeah.
And they were like, absolutely. So we started volunteering there, and it's amazing when you get into something like that, the friendships that you make with the people that you're serving with, and just the sense of, I guess, fulfillment and the blessing that you get from doing something like
Absolutely.
that. It's really special. So back to libraries, you mentioned libraries, and, to some people that may not seem like a really social place to, but believe it or not, some of the first people that we met in Bellevue were the ladies at the public library, which is so cool. One summer, we were here in our RV, and actually Emily volunteered at the library just to kind of help with some things around and it just happened that was the time they were putting in their maker space.
Oh yeah,
and she got to help. She got to help set up the maker space, so that was really cool. And then
she loved doing that.
She
was
did.
Cool.
It was that was so fulfilling for her. And then they had like a summer reading program thing for the kids, and then at the end of that, they did a little carnival. And so Emily and I volunteered to go up there, and we did face painting at the carnival. So
that's cool.
I think I probably painted about 50 Pokemon balls on on kids' faces. But that was just so much fun. And I mean, who knew that libraries could be that social? But they can.
I think you're supposed to be quiet in a library, right?
Well, I think it depends on the situation.
So there are parks, campgrounds, breweries, restaurants, sports facilities, public pools, and other recreational spaces in our communities, and they offer opportunities for socializing and entertainment.
They do, and our community has a ton of opportunities to be a part of things if you want to be.
We had the pleasure of talking with someone who is the owner of 2 community gathering places, one in Dyersville, Iowa, and one here in Bellevue. This was a great conversation where we got to hear his heart and vision for these community spaces and the role that they play in bringing people together.
We're here today with our friend Tom Olberding.
Yes.
He's the owner of Textile Brewing in Dyersville, Iowa, and River Ridge Brewing in our Bellevue, Iowa. And we're sitting here today in Textile with Tom. Tom, can you tell us a little bit about the history of this beautiful building?
Sure. This building was built right around 1908, we believe, and it started out as a car showroom.
Oh.
Well, it was a gasoline engine factory, then a car showroom,
Okay.
and then within 2 years it became a sewing factory.
Okay.
And it was a sewing factory from
That's kind of what it's most famous for, right?
from about 1910 until 2017. So it was only closed for maybe 9 months before we bought it.
Wow. And they specialized in pajamas, is that right?
For the majority of its lifetime as a sewing factory, it was pajamas. And that's kind of what the local people that are old enough to remember it refer to it as, a pajama factory.
That is so cool. I love all of the refurbished and repurposed furniture in here, and these old, I guess they were sewing tables at some point.
Yep, they have a sewing machine there.
Yeah.
It's a really cool vibe in the place.
It is super cool.
Yeah. So we had a conversation a few weeks back at River Ridge, and we had just come over here and had a few beers and
I remember.
sampled all the things, and we had some musicians up front, and there was people packed down these long tables in here.
There wasn't a seat left in the house.
No.
We grabbed a seat at the bar because that was about all there was when we came in. So
I was like just remarking on like what a great atmosphere it was.
Yeah.
And I said it really feels like a brew house. and you're like, yeah, that's what we were going for.
Yeah, I'm a pharmacist, so I was happily doing my pharmacy thing.
Yeah.
And my wife at the time was just insistent that we open a brewery in Dyersville. We had no idea where.
Yeah.
And I just kind of laughed it off. Like,
you were a home brewer at the time?
Nope.
Or no?
Never
Not
did
even
it.
that?
Never did any of that yet.
Okay.
So then I asked her, who's going to make the beer? And she said, you are. Because you're a pharmacist, you'll figure it out.
You can figure out all the chemicals, right?
So this building, which I grew up in this town, and I don't even remember it being here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I moved away for 30 years or so.
Sure.
But I don't even remember this building being here. But it became available, and we walked through it. And turns out the economic development coordinator for Dyersville was also looking at this building to turn it into a brewery, which we didn't even know that.
How interesting.
So after going through this, and the price was good, I'm thinking I better learn how to make some beer.
Right.
So while we were working on buying this building and starting the renovation, I did a crash course in how to make beer. And
okay.
that's kind of how.
And the rest is history.
Kinda, yeah. So we ended up buying the building with the contents in it.
Sure. Okay.
And I have to give Carol, my ex, a lot of credit because she had a vision, and a lot of people contributed. A lot of community people contributed to how this looks now. But she was the main person who made sure that we stayed true to what her vision was. And
sure.
a
So
lot
you
of
did.
that
You had a vision.
Yeah.
For this place, and there's obviously every time I've talked to you about it, there's obviously a lot of heart behind how this space is used and people coming together and that kind of stuff. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of that, like what your heart is behind this place?
Well, like I said, I moved back after 25 or 30 years. I mean, I would visit, but when I moved back, I essentially knew my family that was here and a few friends that I went to school with.
They were still around.
So other than that, I pretty much had to re-friend or learn new friendships as we went along. And that really never happened while I was a pharmacist because I was working in Dubuque or Cedar Rapids. And other than golfing, that's it was just family and friends I already knew. And then when this opened, I've developed a whole new large group of community friends and people that were here when I was here, but I didn't know them.
Right.
So it's just great to come in here every day and to look around, and your friends might walk in at one minute, or a lot of people that come in here I've never seen before.
Sure.
And you can tell when it's their first time because they'll
look
around and they'll have a smile on their face, and then I usually am listening in on, and if they have questions about the building, I'll share the history, and people are really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
And then in the summer we have the baseball tournaments, the kids tournaments.
Right.
And most of those teams are from large cities, Chicago,
and that's at
St.
the
Louis.
Field of Dreams? Is that where those
Well,
happen?
the tournaments take place all around town.
Okay.
But then between games and stuff, they'll come in here.
Okay.
The teams and their parents and siblings, and
cool.
It's really neat to talk to them too. So
Yeah.
To me, like, I really appreciate that we followed this plan and it kept this. We repurposed everything.
Yeah.
Except these chairs.
Yeah.
And the bar top, and that's everything else is pretty much what we found in the building.
That's awesome.
And you're surrounded by the history, like we got the newspaper articles and magazine articles on the wall, so you can just kind of walk around and get a.
Well, there's a cool history that we didn't even know about. I don't think anybody in Dyersville really knew about it. But in 1916, the women that worked here walked out over a pay discrepancy. Now, women couldn't even vote in 1916.
Right.
Yeah.
And most of the women that worked here were teenage girls.
Right.
So for them to walk out under those circumstances is pretty brave.
Yeah.
Very brave.
And in fact, that article there talks about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it turns out this Richard Bissell was the grandson or nephew of the owner of this building, the sewing factory. He became a writer.
Okay.
And he wrote a book called 7.5 Cents, which became a bestseller.
Oh, wow.
And then they turned it into a Broadway musical.
Oh, my goodness.
And Shirley MacLaine was the lead in the Broadway musical in New York. And that was her first major role. It won Tony Awards. So then they turned it into a movie starring Doris Day.
Wow.
And it all kind of related back to what happened here in 1916. So.
And the movie was the
Pajama Game.
Yeah, that was actually one of my mom's favorite movies.
Yep.
So it's kind of wild.
In England.
In England, yeah.
And I've never watched the whole movie, but because it's a musical, and I don't know. But
And the reason why my mom loved it is because her grandmother was part of the suffragette movement in England, and actually protested outside the Houses of Parliament, and was one of the ladies who was arrested for throwing a rock through the window.
Whoopsie.
So it kind of is all in the same ballpark
thing.
there. Yeah.
So you mentioned that your family is from here.
Yes.
So how has their support in this community kind of helped make your vision possible? What does their support mean to you?
It means everything. My mom originally, when we discussed this idea, was furious. She's like, "Tom, you're a pharmacist. You have a good job. Why are you doing this?"
Oh, how funny!
And
your mom is so sweet.
She is. By the time we got to the construction part, she was a minor investor, and she's been incredibly supportive. And I lost my dad in 2010, and I lived in Georgia at that time. And he got Parkinson's in 2004, and he died in 2010, and I was in Georgia the whole time.
Oh, wow.
And, I saw him, holidays and stuff, but
sure.
I missed a lot of the end of his life, and that kind of sticks with you.
Sure. Of course.
So when I had an opportunity to move back, part of it was so I could be closer to my mom.
Sure.
Because she was getting, in her 70s. And
Sure.
And she's 82 now, and she probably could run circles around me. But,
she seems like a little firecracker.
But our relationship has grown, and it's just been great. And then my sister lives here, and her family, and it's just wonderful to have that support group.
Yeah, for sure.
Being single, it helps me, things to do, and my friends and everything. It kind of keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mentioned before that when we came over here, you had a couple that were the musicians for the evening. It was a good event, and everybody was like, they were getting everybody engaged and stuff. And you actually have a lot of events here, different events. What event is your favorite? Like, what's the one that you really look forward to?
Oh, Christmas trivia.
Yes, yes.
It's insane.
That's always big, isn't it?
Yeah, we bring in extra tables, pub tables, extra tables and chairs. There's usually 35 to 38 teams of up to 6 people each.
Yeah.
Wow. And when it's themed like that, some people dress up and
sure, that just makes it more fun.
This year was Christmas Vacation. You always get the Cousin Eddie's and all that.
Of course, yeah.
And it's Christmas time too,
right.
So all of that. And we have the place decorated for Christmas, and it just really kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah. Well, this next Christmas, we should bring our RV up. And
there you go, parking outside.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, maybe not. And I saw something a couple of weeks ago on Facebook or something. You guys had a puzzle night here.
Yeah.
That seemed pretty cool. The pictures looked like there were lots of people spread out on the long tables.
What's really neat is like the library.
Yeah.
They came to us and they said, we want to do a puzzle night. And we have a space that allows that.
Yeah, of course.
We have big tables and it's wide open, so everybody's around each other.
Yeah.
Plus, the atmosphere in here is always good. So it was really great. They were hoping to get 15 teams, and they ended up with 3 or 4 on a waiting list. So
wow.
All the proceeds went to the library. We gave 10% of sales that day to the library. That's
cool.
I love that.
So
And that's
like
a big part of, being a part of a community is the giving back part. So, and I know that you do a lot of that and.
That night, it was a weeknight.
Sure.
We wouldn't have been that busy if it wasn't for the puzzle night. So, I like, those are the kind of things that, you should be giving back.
Of course, yeah. I love that.
It's benefiting the library, but it's also benefiting us at the same time.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love that.
Win-win.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We mentioned also earlier that you own River Ridge Brewing in Bellevue, which is one of our favorite places.
Yeah, that's how I met you.
That's how we met, yes. So we like to call, especially in the summertime, we like to call River Ridge Bellevue's backyard because it literally, people congregate on the patio. Of course, we overlook the Mississippi River. I mean, I personally think we have like one of the best views of the Mississippi River.
I don't know of a better one, and I've been to a lot of places.
Absolutely gorgeous, yeah. So why do you think that providing gathering places like these 2 breweries in local communities is so important?
Personally, having lived in cities where it's less personal, and you go places and you rarely know anybody.
Right.
Coming back to communities like this, and seeing the friendships, and I think it's valuable. And I think since we opened, a lot of things have happened in Dyersville downtown to kind of bring it back to life, because it was really starting to die. A lot of the owners of the businesses were getting to retirement or past retirement, and they didn't have the energy or the desire to really try new things, and we kind of started that. There's a wine bar next door now. A couple of bars and restaurants downtown, and
very cool.
I just remember moving back, and we would drive down Main Street on Friday night, Saturday night, not a car.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And now, the parking spots are full.
There's always something. Yeah.
And
It's just made a difference.
that's a good
really
thing.
cool.
And I mean, this place has windows on all sides, and it's just wide open. People just like coming here.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I think, like you said before, like it's a place that people can meet up.
Yeah.
It's neutral, ground. Friends can meet, families can meet, and it's a cool place.
And my staff is amazing, and a lot of my staff have been here from the beginning or very soon thereafter, and they're local people that know everybody in town.
Yep.
So I mean, when I choose to go somewhere,
of course,
I would go. If I had 2 options, I would go to the place where I know I'm going to get good service, and I know the people behind the bar.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
you're going to get consistent, good service and friendly people.
I agree.
And so you opened here in 2019, is that correct?
July of 2019, yeah.
Okay. And then you purchased River Ridge in 2022?
Yep, toward the end of 2022.
So after setting up here and all the work that went into this place, what was the draw? Why were you interested in then purchasing River Ridge?
Well, I had gone to the original River Ridge on Main
the little
Street.
one,
Yeah.
And kind of talked to the owners. I don't really know them.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we were open yet or.
Okay.
And I thought, this is really cool. It kind of reminded me of Guttenberg a little bit.
Right, sure.
And my cousin Ann runs the golf course in Bellevue. So, and I play golf against the Bellevue golf group of guys. So I kind of know some of them.
Yeah.
And then when the owners reached out to me about the brewery, the current brewery buying it, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Because I think, if the location,
yeah.
if that's, it doesn't get any better than that location.
Right, yeah.
And then sitting down and talking to them, they gave me the same vibe that you give me as far as they have a passion for the place, and they were drawn to Textile or me because they sense that I have the same type of feeling and put that much importance on, maintaining your brand and community, and so that's kind of how that worked out.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't let that place go to somebody else because I just thought this would be such a cool environment.
Yeah, so it is a cool place.
It was the similar core value in both places.
Yeah, and the really owners, they saw that in Textile, and I kind of saw it in them just from talking to them. So we made it work.
So you're talking about how Textile brings people together and friends and family and stuff. River Ridge is definitely that place as well, and I love that. And I know that some of the people that we have met at River Ridge have become our very best friends.
Yeah. Yes.
So even before I worked there, that was kind of we had met a couple of people out and about in the community, but then they're like, "Oh, hey, come meet our friends over here," and we sat down. And now, I mean, these are the people. We do life together, they're my girlfriend's text group and, that kind of stuff. I mean, these are like my very, very best friends, and I met them at River Ridge. Yeah. Do you see those kinds of things happening here, or do you think it's like the friendships being formed here, or do you think it's mostly people that are already friends that come here to hang out?
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Me personally, I see a lot of people come in and I don't know who they are.
Sure.
I mean, there's people that come from all around and they're usually meeting someone there. But then there's also times, mainly during the week and Sundays, where it's local people and I know them and they're coming here together. There's a group of ladies that are probably in their 80s.
Okay.
They'll come in on a weekday right at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they'll just sit down and they'll have pop and they might order some food.
Sure.
And they'll sit there and talk for
it's their girl time.
3 hours.
Yeah.
And they look forward to the time.
They eat some popcorn and have a pop. And, and I have a group of friends that we like to meet here too.
Yeah, sure. At River Ridge, I find myself, I think there's so much power in a story, which is why we do what we do. And I love to hear other people's stories, and I love to tell my story. So that, for me, being across the bar from somebody and meeting them for the first time and hearing where they came from,
finding out about them,
and that just is so fascinating to me. And I'm sure that you do that too. You said earlier that you've made a lot of friends here when you moved back into this community. Like, this was a big part of.
Yeah, and when I met you, I sensed immediately how passionate you were about River Ridge.
Sure.
And that meant a lot to me. And, you got to have people working for you or involved that are passionate about that.
Of course, yeah.
And then both breweries have the same brewer.
Yes.
So now different beers.
We share Joel.
All different beers, different recipes.
But all great.
Yeah, he does an awesome job.
He's amazing. Yeah. So we also, at River Ridge, we get a lot of foot traffic from like the Great River Road. We get a lot of like tourists, especially when the weather's nice and summertime and stuff like that. Do you find that you get a lot of kind of touristy traffic here with the things around?
We have the Basilica in town and obviously the Field of Dreams.
Right.
The Toy Museum, which you wouldn't think was a big deal, but it
is.
It's a huge deal. So especially in the summer months, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The baseball, the kids' tournaments, they coordinate out at the Field of Dreams and draw in 20 to 60 teams a week.
Wow. Yeah.
So it only takes 2 teams to come in here at one time.
Sure,
and
you're
packed.
slammed. And we found that too, even with basketball tournaments and that kind of stuff in Bellevue. I mean, on a Saturday afternoon, we can get slammed in a hurry with just those kinds of things happening in town.
It's kind of rewarding when someone comes in and they say, yeah, we've heard a lot about this place. Mm-hmm. While we're here, we're going to go check out the Field of Dreams.
Yes, right.
We were
your destination.
We're the destination. And by the way, we're going to go check out the Field of Dreams. So that's when you know you're doing something right.
Right. Well, and the cool thing is both of these breweries are very family friendly too.
Yes.
So it's not like you're taking your kids into a bar. It's not that vibe at all. These are very.
We don't have liquor.
No. Right.
I like the family aspect of it. We have games and stuff for kids to play while they're here, coloring.
Oh, yeah.
So the parents and the kids all have a good time.
So do you feel like both of these gathering places have achieved the vision that you have for them?
I'm pretty happy with what's going on here.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm here almost every day.
Right.
So I have a little more of a perspective on that.
Of course.
And I think that River Ridge is working back toward that. I think since the previous owners, they were from Bellevue.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
It does make a difference.
Yeah. And then I came in and I can't get down there that often. And I like I was saying with Candy, I saw that in her and I was like, this is the kind of people we want. Training people and
building that community.
Yeah. And people see your passion and they kind of mimic that, I think.
Yeah, I get asked all the time if I'm the owner. I'm like, nope, not me.
I have a couple of bartenders that they get asked that all the time.
Yeah, it might just be because I'm there all the time.
So to me, I say, well, that's a compliment that just says that you look like somebody who really cares.
Sure. So places like Textile and River Ridge are gifts to the community. So Tom, thank you.
Thank you so much
for spending some time with us today, and thank you for providing places for friends and loved ones to gather in our communities.
It is my pleasure, believe me.
Awesome.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Gathering places are so important to our communities. I love the idea of having a third place.
Yes.
Third places are locations where people can gather, relax, and interact with each other in a casual, no-pressure setting. They're distinct from formal environments of home, which is the first place, and work or school, which is the second place.
I love what Tom said about when he moved back to Dyersville and opened up the brewery. That was where he was able to reconnect with people and make new friends in the community.
Yes.
He said that when he chooses to go somewhere, he wants to be in a place where he will get good service and where he knows people. Everyone wants to have a place where they feel like they're welcomed and where they belong. I feel like that's a big part of my job at River Ridge.
Yeah, it is.
I want people to feel like they belong from the moment that they walk in the door to the moment that they leave.
Yes. A brewery is obviously just one example of a gathering place and definitely not the only place that we're a part of. Communities have lots of options to gather with others who share common interests.
Yeah, and we always have a faith aspect to the words that we share because that's a huge part of our story and our mission.
Yes.
So Jesus and his disciples set the example of the importance of community. They shared each other's burdens. They grew in their faith together. They shared with those in need, and they served the community. When you come together with your community, you get to do these same things.
And a big part of that is hospitality, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Being hospitable to each other, yes. Being a part of a community means sharing our lives with others. When we have people in our lives that we do life with, we have a support system to lean on in good or bad times.
Yes. And we are also able to offer that support to others when needed. In the Bible, in 1 Peter 4, 8 through 10, it says, "Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms.
Each of us has unique gifts that we bring to our families, our friendships, and to our communities. We would like to encourage you today to identify your gifts.
Yeah, take a moment to reflect on your strengths, your passions, and your abilities. Consider what you naturally excel at and what brings you a sense of fulfillment.
Then find opportunities to serve in your community. Seek out gathering places where you can use your gifts to address the needs of those around you. This could involve volunteering, mentoring, organizing events, offering skills-based help, or simply just being a positive influence.
When we each do our parts in our communities, our efforts can completely impact the lives of others, and they create just a more positive environment for all.
And that is today's beautiful view.
Thank you for joining us today. Our hope is always to inspire and encourage our listeners, so we hope this episode encouraged you to look for ways you can positively make an impact and utilize gathering places to broaden your connections and involvement in your community.
If you like what we're doing here at the Beautiful View podcast, you can show your appreciation by becoming a supporting member for only $5 a month. We'll send you a members-only Beautiful View podcast sticker and a weekly encouraging newsletter to your inbox. Your support helps cover our production costs. The link to sign up is in our show notes.
Yeah, and be sure to follow Beautiful View Podcast on Facebook or Instagram, and the links to those are also in our show notes.
As we conclude each podcast, we always like to give the topic for our next episode. So what are we talking about next time?
Well, our next episode is going to be called A Sense of Adventure.
Oh, okay.
It will be a humorous take on how the two of us approach adventure differently.
Oh, we do that.
We'll do a little reminiscing about some previous adventures and experiences and look ahead to future adventures.
Yes. Thank you once again for joining us today. We hope you have a great day, and remember to always keep an eye open for opportunities in life to see a beautiful view.
We could climb a mighty mountain, float on down a winding river, travel back in time and face our future too. Oh, I'm not scared of where I'm going, 'cause I know whose hands I'm holding. Oh, I'd go anywhere as long as you're going to. And I'd go anywhere as long as I'm with you. I'd go